Good afternoon, everyone. I am going to wait about 5 minutes just for everyone to get in the stream that would like to be here. Um, if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them to me throughout the conference. This is the first time that I have actually done anything like this, so this will be a bit of an experience for both of us, but it will be fun nonetheless. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Izzy. I see there's 7 of you in there now. I'm just going to give it 3 or 4 minutes to let everyone get in that wants to get in, because I know there was a live that finished not too long ago. I am actually looking for a video that I took a while ago while hunting that I will drop in the comments after this conference has ended, after this stream has ended, that will show you exactly why. I will talk about the situation, but it will show you exactly why I keep a hunting jacket on my dog, and why I will always recommend them, particularly if you've got labs that are prone to going through cover at quite significant speeds. So there's 16 of you there. Just give it a couple more minutes and then I will start. If you have any questions, absolutely drop them to me. That's what I'm here for. I do have a couple of polls going. Ooh. So we will put that one out first, and then I will put the second one out later on. But how has everyone's day been? Are we enjoying the conference? Are we having a nice time? What have I had for dinner? I actually haven't eaten yet. I didn't want to eat before I did this, so I'll get some lovely scrambled eggs afterwards. The dog, however, had a lovely dinner of pig trotters, so he's very comfortable wherever he is. It's on the blankets behind me right now, you can't see him. So we're down to 17, that's brilliant. What did you have for dinner, Nikki? Okay, so we will make a start. So tonight I will be discussing what I have seen personally. This is a personal look at how I have seen the Gundog world since coming into it a good 2.5 years ago. This is both online and what I've seen in real life, because I have seen a fair bit of behaviour from people in the working dog world that does need to change. So I think that is where we will begin. Initially, I got into Gundog training. Varley is a beating dog and he is a picking up dog. Oh, and got chicken, broccoli, and chips. Absolutely lovely. But Varley is a picking up and a beating dog, which means that he will flush the birds, but he is also trained to pick them up if in a specific situation. The commands change depending on what we do. That's absolutely fine. Sometimes the is that the link? I think that might be the link. I will just, this may take you off the stream, but I'm just going to copy this and drop this. This is exactly why, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, this is exactly why I will always put a hunting coat on my dog. So from getting involved in the Gundog community and seeing a lot of the information online, the information on the books, there are some things that I wanted to kind of go over that concern me personally. The first one being is that, particularly, I've seen more with American Gundog trainers. Now, this does not mean to say at all that all Gundog trainers use this method and mentality, but is the prevalence of ear and toe pinching. Which, if you are unaware, is when you teach your dog how to hold an item, they will pinch the ear to make the dog open the mouth and place the dummy in to hold, or they will actually tie a rope around the toe and use pressure around the toe in order to get the dog to open their mouth to receive the dummy. Now, I've not heard of a fair I've not heard for a fair while any English Gundog trainers using this method, but it would not surprise me. They are very old school methods, and to be honest, quite inhumane. I do actually have right next to me what I call my golden Bible, which is Mike Gould's The Labrador Shooting Dog, and there are quite a significant number of pages within that book that do detail force tables, ear pinching, and toe pinching. And as positive trainers, we need to say, well, there are much better ways of teaching our dogs a positive association than there is going down the method of immediately trying to harm them to get them to take it. So that's probably one of the biggest problems that I see, is a lot of, my dog will not hold the dummy or my dog will not take it, and people tend to go into it far too quickly. They go into it far too quickly and they try and force the dog to do far too much. Now, rather than defaulting to the ear and the toe pinching, the best thing you can do is really start from square one. And that is just putting the dummy up to the dog's mouth. If the dog still wants to sniff it, that's brilliant. You take it back. And you move on until eventually the dog will feel confident to take the dummy, and then you can build up your duration from there. There is absolutely no need to sit there and start pinching body parts of the animal just to get them to take the dummy. You understand? Now, I'm going to take those off because the glare on my face is quite annoying. So I wouldn't be surprised if you found it annoying as well. I do speak quite quickly. If you do need me to slow down, please at any point tell me. And I will obviously do that for you, of course. But moving on from the ear and the toe pinching, we are moving on to the mentality of the trainers. Now, I have seen, particularly in the older generation of Gundog owners, not even trainers, just owners, a kind of unwillingness to not take the extra step, but prevent specific problems. So, for example, I have seen owners that will throw dogs that are soaking wet back into their kennels after they've done a horrendously hard day's work without even so much drying them off. What you do with your dog is completely up to you. However, these dogs work for us. They work their asses off for us. And at the end of the day, it does not feel right to not give them at least a little dry off before you go throwing them back into kennels. There are, on the shoot that I am on, I am happy to see that there are a lot more Labradors now being rugged up between drives or over lunches, whereas otherwise they would have gone naked. Now, don't forget that Labradors are a northern breed. They originated from Newfoundland in Canada. They were bred from the St. John's water dog. So these animals are built to withstand cold weathers. However, as you work, your muscles get warmer. And that's what keeps the dog warm. Now, when you stop between drives, or if you stop for lunch or 11s, which is quite an extended period, the muscles will cool down and the dog will slowly get colder. You've seen that too, yeah? Good, brilliant. It should be one of the things that happens, in my honest opinion, because you can stop so many health conditions. You can stop muscle tears, you can stop muscle damage, you can stop limber tail, also known as swimmer's tail, broken tail. All of that can be kept at bay by just keeping the dog warm. And that's what we need to focus on, because when that dog stops working, that dog's going to cool down at a phenomenal rate. So you may see them in the back of the beaters van, you look at them, you look at the dogs, and there's steam coming off them. They've worked incredibly hard, and that is amazing. By the time you get back to the yard, that steam has stopped because that dog has cooled down. Now, between drives, I like to rub Varley down. He has a fleece that gets thrown on him just to try and keep him that little bit of extra warmth, particularly because he got struck by a van early last year. In 2020, he was actually hit by a van, so I have spent a lot more time trying to keep him warm between drives, and that seems to keep him going for longer. Now, over lunches, I will also rug him too, and it's so good, particularly seeing the labs getting rubbed up. Because, like I've said before, they were bred to be a northern dog, yes, but at the same time, it is up to us to prevent any injuries that can come from abruptly being brought back into work, because some people don't bring their dogs back in slowly. They will just let them kind of train, and then wham, you're suddenly back into season. So we train all year round, so Varley keeps that fitness, but at the same time, even he runs the risk, and it's just not a risk worth taking. But you would be amazed at how many people will actually sit there and say that, oh no, the dog has got the coat that it needs, the dog will be fine. Well, yes, that may be true. The dog may have the coat it needs, but no matter how much of a thick coat it has, if it's warmed up and then cools down again rapidly, that dog is going to get cold. That dog is going to get cold. It's the equivalent of going for a run, getting yourself nice and sweaty, and then sitting down without toweling yourself off. You get cold, you get a chill. You get chilly, essentially. That's exactly what happens to them. Now, I am not one that will say mollycoddle your dog. I am not one to say mother your dog, spoil your dog. You do whatever you want with your dog. My dog is a working dog. But it is not his job to try and prevent his own healthcare. He will more than happily chuck himself into a stream at minus God knows what. It is up to me to be the one to say, well, actually, you can't do that because this is what may happen to you. We have to take responsibility for our dogs, particularly on the shooting field. And that comes to... Nope, I have not known anyone use any kind of jackets after work. They may do, they may not. I'm not saying that they do or don't. I'm saying I personally have not seen them. I would like to start using massage therapy with Varley. He does have his fleece, he does have a drying coat, he comes back, he gets showered, he gets a massage down from me, he gets fed, he gets watered, he goes to sleep. All of that is done before I even consider myself, and that is where a lot of gun dog owners will actually excel, because they will say, look, you sit down and you deal with your dog before you go off and deal with your gun and with yourself. Your dog comes first. And yet at the same time, these are the same people that are saying, well, actually, your dog doesn't need to be rugged up during drives. You see where I'm going with this? I'm not saying it comes from a place of malice. I don't think it does. I think it comes from a place of a lack of education. However, one thing I have noticed with the gun dog community, particularly towards younger trainers and younger people coming into the sport like myself, that if you try and spread this educational message of, hey, your dog will be more prone to injury if you work them up and then abruptly bring them down again, like you do between drives or you do believe on 11s, then you're going to run into issues. Now, what I have found is a lot of the older, particularly the older generation, will be like, how many dogs have you had? Or how much training have you done? Or how many dogs have you had in the shooting field? Or what kind of experience do you have? Now, sorry, pardon me, but as soon as you say, yes, I am, I have this, and this. For example, I have a level 3 in canine behavior and training, and I am currently undergoing my foundation degree. Exactly. I absolutely agree with that. Nikki is just saying that agility dogs, they should be the same way as agility dogs are treated. But the thing is they're not. And that's the sad part about it. And when you try and educate the older generation, particularly, they will completely almost spit back in the face of anyone who's under the age of 30, who hasn't grown up with dogs and who hasn't immediately jumped on the bandwagon of, dogs don't need coats, dogs don't need boots, dogs don't need protective vests. So that is what I want to change. Fundamentally, that is what I want to change. It's not so much the training of the dogs, it's the training of the people, the mentality of the people. And I'm finding a lot of the new gun dog trainers are actually going, well, do you know what? In order to keep the dogs healthy and to keep the dogs safe, we will rug them up between drives. We will rug them up on 11s and through dinners. And that is great to see. because these dogs, you can see, they're not huddled down during 11s or just staying next to their owners and shivering. They're rugged up, they're warm, they're still ready to go, they're looking up at their handlers, and they're so excited and they're so happy and they're so ready. As with what I've said before, not every dog needs it. Not every dog wants it. That's fine. If your dog is not a dog that you feel needs rugging up, don't rug up your dog. Personally, I will always rug up mine. Vali's health and welfare is a damn sight more important to me than my physical standing among the shoot. So I was more than happy to rug him up. I was more than happy to put he actually owns a Hurt Worker vest, which was bought off Amazon. Yeah, absolutely. It does seem to be a certain set of age groups that will literally try and shout you down. And generally, if you haven't been brought up with these dogs, they go, well, hey, you haven't been brought up with these dogs. You don't know what you're talking about. I have had these dogs for X and X amount of years. Now, it's fine to say that you've had your dogs for 40 years. You've had dogs for 40 years. That may be the case. But you've also had teeth for about as long as that. Are you a dentist? Are you a dentist? No. Just because you own dogs does not mean that you are automatically an expert of that breed or of that type or of the training of that one type of dog. Now, the more you can put into learning about training, the better off you're going to be in the long run. But like I said, certain age groups, regardless, will try and shout you down. I've even had people turn around and say, I wouldn't let you take my dog because you're so young. I'm 26. By the way, I'm not some fresh-faced 18-year-old. I am a tired 26-year-old trying to get through a foundation degree with a small business. So they're still trying to shout me down. Oh, I would never give you my dog. I would never let you train my dog. I would never, do this, that, or the other. Or kind of, the biggest one seems to be wind your neck in until you get more experience with these dogs. Well, my dog worked very early. My dog was working at 7 months old on the beating line and has 2.5 years under his belt because he is nearly 3. Had I had more experience, he would not have been on the line at 7 months old. He wouldn't have. He just straight up wouldn't have. He was too young, and it's taken a little bit of a while because he picked up a vice, and we've been working on it. That's absolutely fine. I do not train gun dogs. I work gun dogs. And this is what my theory and opinion is standing on it, is we need to change the mentality of the trainers. That is the best thing we can do. We can train our dogs positively, we can train them to a standard, we can put them through the field trials, but nothing is going to happen in the community unless we sit there and we say, well, actually, we need to change the mentality as a whole. So the video, moving on to another, I think I went a bit over what I was supposedly trying to talk about then, but that's absolutely fine. Moving on to the next topic, which is, obviously I mentioned that Varley has a Herta working vest. The first time I put that on him, I did get some comments on my shoot. I did get kind of on the Facebook pages, I got, why are you putting that in him? He's got a coat. If he has a coat, why do you need to... I do apologize. If you'll just give me just a second. It's great. You tell people that you're busy and they almost never listen, do they? They never listen. The best, when you start training and get them working the best age, my opinion is start training, go through the normal 8 weeks to 6 months with your basic obedience, your bonding. From 6 months onwards, then start working them on dummies, start working them on their memory retrieves, start working them on the basic fundamentals like your stop whistle and your directional whistles. Hello, Ruby. It's lovely to see you. But bear in mind you go at your own dog's pace and keep it fun. I cannot tell you how many people I see on these Gundog sites that are going, oh, my 20-week-old puppy will not retrieve or hold a dummy. You know, these dogs are young. These dogs are being pushed into things very, very young. And a candle that burns bright burns half as long. Bring these dogs into this work slowly. That is the best thing that you can do. So just take your time and reach out to a gun dog trainer who actually takes their time with their dogs. Absolutely. Now, back to the topic of what I was saying. Varley does have a her to work vest. What I found was, particularly with how he goes through cover, he goes through quite thick and quite fast, and he's the equivalent of a small tank in build and size. And what I found was he was getting particularly scratched up on the chest, on the shoulders, on the belly. So I wanted to attempt to try and minimize damage. Very thankfully, we were gifted this coat fresh off the line. And what I can say is it has changed his life. It has saved his life. I am not sure. No one's told me if you can see the video. That is, I posted in the comments above. If not, I will put it in there after this live is finished. That's absolutely fine, so you can see what I'm talking about. But on one of the shoots, I think it was the second shoot that we did after we got this Herta working coat, Varley actually impaled himself on a stake, on a log. Fortunately, he was absolutely fine because the vest that he was working deflected the log. Now, had he run into it without the vest on, it would have killed him outright. It would have gone through his chest wall, it would have gone straight through his heart, through his lung, and it would have... The video is able to be seen, that's brilliant. And it would have killed him. Yeah, exactly, Helena. That is exactly what the problem is. You often find that they are starting them too young. If you wait until the dog is fully grown, that does come with its own challenges, of course. But I find it easy to kind of start them at around 6 months, and then I will take my next one on a shoot for half a day, maybe when they're about 12 months old to a year, depending on when the shoot season is. But no, like I was saying, is I would have pulled, if not for that vest, I would have pulled a dead dog off that stick. And there is a massive, massive rift in the gun dog community about whether or not you need to vest your dog. Again, it comes back to, you know, they've got their coat, they were bred to do this. Well, yes, they were bred to do that. They were bred to go through cover at 300 miles an hour. They were bred to go into some of the hardest undergrowth that you've seen, or to jump barbed wire fences. What they are not bred to do is survive being impaled by a stick because of the speed that they're moving. And that is what happened to Varley. I would have pulled a dead dog off a stick. Now, because he was wearing the vest took the brunt of the blow and deflected it, so instead of going directly in through here, it went sideways through the actual vest and kept him stuck to the stick, but fortunately knocked him to one side, so the stick went straight past him and did not even hit him. Now, I did not realise, because when you stand there on a shoot, you don't go, oh yes, it's going to happen to my dog. So I was like, come here, and I'm calling him, and he stood there and he wouldn't move. So it's only when I went over that I actually realised that my dog is stuck to this stick, which is where the video came in of obviously why, in the comments, of why I vest my dog, because you can see how far down that stick that vest goes. So we unpeeled him, got him out. He was perfectly happy, he was perfectly fine, he ran off and did whatever he needed to do. The vest, however, could not be used for the remainder of the day. But it had done its job, it had saved his life. I will always say to people who run dogs through cover, or on shoots that are particularly barbed wire heavy, or broken brush heavy, vest your dog. It will save their life. And in fact, I did. Let me have a look at my my stuff. I did actually have a look at a John E.F. Holton survey earlier about the lameness diagnosis and specific injuries with gun dogs, and it turned out that what they classed as group 2 injuries, which were chest injuries, stomach injuries, neck injuries, particularly around here and on the chest and on the stomach, were the highest amount of injuries received by gun dogs over the space of 2 years. And labs out of that were 26%. There was a 26% likelihood that your dog was going to be injured while out. That's a pretty high chance, if you ask me, to not then go, oh, I'm going to protect my dog. You know? And it happened to my dog. My dog has had his 26% chance. We absolutely should. And personally, I will never put my dog over barbed wire. Back when I was young, and he was young, and I was like, yes, you know what? I'm going to prove my dog to the world. I'm going to say, my dog can do this. My dog is the best at this. I sent him over a stream, over a barbed wire fence after a dummy, which he went and retrieved with no problem. However, when attempting to jump back over it, as he came through the wire, his leg twisted, caught in it, and he was left dangling from a barbed wire fence by the tendon. Now, if that does not shock you into realizing the danger that these dogs face willingly, because he went over that barbed wire fence willingly, and he came back over willingly, it was me that put him into that situation. These dogs will go to their death for us. We need to protect them and mitigate what we can. The highest level of injuries over those 2 working years from that survey were chest injuries and feet injuries. Labradors, cockers, and springers. I have the paperwork all down here. They found that beating dogs were the highest liability of dogs to be injured, which makes sense. There's a lot of cover. You're pushing through a lot of terrain. You've got flint, you've got broken branches, you've got barbed wire fences. After that, picking up dogs were the second highest likely to be injured, which makes sense. If that bird gets pricked and it comes down and the dog goes after it, that dog will then go into whatever cover that bird goes into. And Varley did actually he has a scar on his nose now because from the season that just went, he went after a pricked bird and took some barbed wire to the face. Within his first year, he gashed open his face on a rock. Now, I've said it before and I've said it again, these dogs will die doing this job for us. We need to mitigate where we can. And I don't mean to make the mood songer, I really don't. But we do need to take responsibility for our dogs when we're out shooting. After that, peg dogs were the third most likely to be injured, and the least likely to be injured were obviously your pointers and your setters. Because if you think about grouse moors, they're quite smooth, they can be hilly, but there's generally not as much out there that will injure a pointer or a setter. They're not going through cover at 900 miles an hour like a lab does. On board with that, the springers were 40% likely to be injured, and then it was Labradors at 26, and then it was cockers at 12. That's a high rate of injury no matter how you look at it. Yo, if you can't see it, I will re-upload it again and make it public, and if you keep an eye on the comments after this live finishes, then I will absolutely put it up so you can have a look, because it is definitely something that needs to be seen. But when it comes to gun dogs, I could talk all day. I honestly really could. And I have seen some pretty horrific things done by members of the working dog community in the name of gun dogs and working dogs. I actually had an old boss who had a Teckle bitch. She was absolutely lovely. She got out once, and you may think, oh, well, what's this got to do with it? She was a working dog. She was a working dog, and he was a very old school kind of trainer. And when I first saw this dog, I said, oh my god, she's amazingly trained. She absolutely loves you. She never goes away from you. She's, she's perfect. So I find this little bitch. She's wandering around on the farm. I have not seen anyone use rec specs on their dogs while working, no. I am tempted to try them, but I would be using them off shoot time to work them. I have heard rec specs are notoriously easy to scratch, but again, I don't know. I do want to try and use them because the training that we train in is very thick, and Varley is very prone to getting thorns around his eyes. So I will keep everyone up to date. If and when I do get a pair of rec specs, then yeah, you would absolutely get laughed at. You would get laughed off your shoot. But if it protects your dog, it protects your dog. Now, this Teckle bitch was roaming around the farm that I was working on at the time. She was a working bitch. So, I picked her up and I took her back to my boss, and my boss was a good 6'4", 6'5". I am 5'1". So he was quite significantly larger to me. He came out, he said thank you, he took this little Teckle bitch off me, he was holding her by the scruff, and then he punched her directly in the face. He punched her in the face. But what can you say? When you live on site with your boss, what can you say? You couldn't say anything. I couldn't say anything. So I said, you know what? Yep, I'll see you later. You got your dog back. And I kept on walking. If I had been in that position then as I am now, I would have said something and I probably would have lost my job. Because that is not how you treat a dog. That is not how you treat a dog when you don't have the adequate fencing to keep her in. You do not scruff a dog and you do not punch it in the face. I have seen that, I have seen people advocating for alpha rolling their dogs, biting their dogs, throwing their dogs, scruffing their dogs. I have seen videos of people picking their dogs up by the ears. I'm not going to name this person, even though I really want to. But the mentality has to stop. Varley is a well-trained dog. Varley is a brilliant dog. Varley, I can send after a bird, and I trust him to come back with it because he uses his brain. He has been trained to use his brain. Unlike the Teckle, which literally stayed by my boss's side, by her owner's side, because she was so scared of being punched in the face if she made the wrong move. Dogs should not live by fear. Dogs should never live by fear. Dogs should not be ruled in that way. They are companions to us. They have evolved beside us. Now, don't treat your dog like a human, because it isn't. But we cannot stand by and allow the mentality to continue that dogs need to be trained using a fear. They don't. Varley is testament to that. Varley was trained for Gundog work in the most positive ways. I'd never trained a Gundog before, and now he's almost one of the best ones on his shoot. So how come I can do it, a newbie, a novice? How can I do it when all of these older Gundog trainers have to use fear to force their dogs? Toe pinching, ear pinching, alpha rolling, biting, punching dogs in the face is not acceptable. And it never will be. Now, moving on from a dour topic. Yeah, now, scruffing, don't get me wrong, scruffing is not an inherently bad thing. Now, it may harm the dog when you pick them up, Depends on the weight of the dog, depends how old the dog is. Generally, the older they get, the more painful they may find it. Dogs that don't have a lot of excess skin, you may find, will find it hurts more. Varley, on the other hand, Varley, come here. Oh, I don't know if you can see him in the minute. He's kind of... Varley, come here. I'd like to use Varley as an example for this, because Varley has some of the most amazing, like, neck flap. Come here. Up, 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 up. Yeah, the boy. So Varley has some of the most amazingly flabby neck skin that I have ever seen. Yes, you do. And you can play with his face, and you can squidge his face up, and that doesn't hurt, because obviously his skin is so flabby anyway. He runs, and you can see the neck flab bouncing. It's amazing. But scruffing your dog when you're angry with them and scruffing your dog with the intent of causing pain is not acceptable. If you want to play around, or you need to lift your dog up in an emergency situation, then scruff your dog and pick them up. Do it. But don't grab them and expect them not to react in some way. Sue, we don't all use fear to train our dogs? No, absolutely not. I am seeing more and more positive gun dog trainers, particularly in the younger generations or the generations that are coming into it, and that is fantastic to see. That is exactly what I want to see. That is what I am pushing for. The education that we don't need to use fear to train our dogs. We need to use positivity. We need to use the bond that we have evolved with our dog. You know? We can go out there as a single unit. There are two of us, but we are a single entity. I move one way, the dog will move that way, because it knows exactly what I want, because it has been trained in such a way that it does not fear looking at me. It does not fear moving away from me for the response that it's going to get. Anyway, I'm going to move on to why I changed from... Oh, that is a big stretchy butt. From why I changed from balanced to positive, because I'm aware that I've only got 20 minutes left. So, we are going to do that. Are there any questions before I move on to why I changed? Well, hello. Varley, you will see Varley moving around in the background now. I've woken him up. He's currently getting onto his bed. But before we move on, are there any other questions about any kind of Gundog training or the mentality? They should absolutely work for you because it's enjoyable. Exactly. Exactly. We need to start taking our dogs to trials. We need to start shouting louder than the people on the sites that are going, oh no, you know, if your dog howls in a kennel, wash it down with a hose. No, train your dog that it doesn't need to howl in a kennel. You don't do it by spraying it in the face with a hose. It's not how you do it. Anyway, onto a better topic. I originally became a dog trainer because I was looking at the amount of dog trainers online, and I kept finding, even as a novice, I kept finding flaw in their work. Caesar Milan, Victoria Stilwell, the new canine intervention, which I have not yet watched. I have, however, saw the trailer, and that was enough for me. I went on a 5-10 minute rant to my girlfriend. That was it. Yeah, if you did it in agility, you would be shut out of shows. But I was looking at these trainers, particularly Zach George, and I was like, well, yeah, but they're not exactly what I'm looking for. They're not getting into the nitty gritty. They're kind of anthropomorphizing the dogs almost. They're kind of almost making their dogs human, and dogs aren't humans. Dogs are dogs. And I went looking and I went looking, and I couldn't find a trainer that worked for me. So I was like, you know what? I am going to become my own trainer. And originally, my first dog was a backyard bred collie. Her name was Shelby. She no longer lives with me. She was rehomed because I need an assistance dog, and I could not keep an assistance dog and a pet dog at the same time. So Shelby now lives in Scotland on the Scottish coast. I get picture updates of her every single day. I get Christmas cards. I get so many updates, it's ridiculous. She is having an amazing time. Where she is, and I could not have made a better decision than to rehome her. Because if me now was able to speak to me back then, I would have slapped myself before getting that dog. Now, Shelby was terrified of traffic. Even from 8 weeks old, she was absolutely terrified of traffic. We went and we picked her up on the 1st of April. Do that math. We picked her up on the 1st of April. We drove 2 hours. We picked her up from a farm. We saw mom. We saw dad. We saw some siblings. We brought her home. I had never owned a dog before, and I went for a border collie. Now, some of you might be going, ooh. Trust me, I look back and I go, ooh, as well. Because that was a decision that I'm going to regret for the rest of my life. But there's nothing I can do about it now, and she led me here. Shelby led me here, and I wouldn't be here if not for her. So Shelby was afraid of traffic. I brought her home. Everything seemed to be going fine. She was picking things up super quickly. I was like, yes, this is going to be my assistance dog. She's going to help me with my issues. And then the traffic fear began to manifest. More and more and more and more. And I was looking at trainers and I was going, how do you train out of this? And nothing that we tried worked. We tried bat, we tried a prong collar, we tried check chains. The only thing that made that dog walk nicely next to a road, she used to crawl. She was so afraid of the road, she used to crawl. She used to crawl down the road. She was so scared of the passing cars. And the only thing that seemed to comfort at the time, was a prong collar. You just let that sink in for a minute. Because I was a balanced trainer. The only thing that seemed to make her walk nicely and not crawl on her belly in fear was a prong collar. Now, looking at it back then, I thought it was a gift from God. You know, I was like, oh my God, she's walking nicely. She's not fearful. Well, she was fearful. But the pain from the prong collar meant that she couldn't naturally show the fear. And that is on me. And that will always be on me. Now, that prong collar was used 4 or 5 times. And that was it. Thank the heavens it was only used the 4 or 5 times that it was. It was not used continually. Shelby was rehomed at the age of 18 months. Varley came home when she was 16 months. Now, Varley is from a brilliant breeder. He is a pedigree Labrador Retriever. He comes from working stock. I was determined to get a working dog because from what I'd seen, they had more of an off switch. So I brought Varley home at 60 when Shelby was 16 months old. Shelby was rehomed when she was 18 months old up to the Scottish coast. So Varley had a couple of months with her. And, training him was a breeze. It was absolutely astounding, the difference. I mean, obviously you're going, well, yeah, Grayson, it's a lab and a border collie. What do you expect? But it wasn't just that either. It was the way that the puppies had been brought up. I found it was a lot easier to be more positive, more cheery, more kind of airy with Varley than I ever did with Shelby. But I still remained a balanced trainer. So instead of going purely positive to teach him to heel, for example, he was taught to heel on a check chain. Now, I still have, I don't know if you can see it, you probably can't. I have currently sat there rusting. I have 3 check collars underneath my desk rusting away. And I have an e-collar that I use for my own migraines that I will never ever put on my dog. So he was taught to heel on a check chain. Looking back at it now, I wish I had gone through the positive way first. And it wasn't until our second croft, just after our second croft, that I decided that was that I was going to try and take on a challenge and go all positive only. And it was difficult at the start, because, like, bear in mind, I had been a balanced trainer for a good 2 years, 3 years. Finally saying, do you know what, enough's enough. I'm going to put the check chains down. I'm going to use just a flat collar, and I'm going to use just a lead, and I'm going to see how I do. And I'm going to use a bunch of treats. And within that session, he was walking beautifully to heel. So I was like, okay. I see the challenge that has been put in front of me, and I will now take that challenge. And I have been positive ever since. Doesn't sound like much, but it is. Especially with the amount of client dogs that I've trained, I have not used a single aversive, and I don't need to. If you understand the psychology of the dog, if you understand how they do and why they do what they do, positive training makes the most sense. It really does. Now, I was never one to believe in the pack theory, dominance theory, anything like that anyway. I wasn't that kind of balanced trainer. My balance training was using the tools such as the prong collars, the martingales, the check chains. Now, don't get me wrong, martingales are not inherently aversive if used correctly, but I was using them in a way that they would tighten to a degree that would be uncomfortable for the dog. So I was using that tool incorrectly. Speaking of aversives, though, I will never, ever, ever advise the use of a front clip harness. I will never advise the use of a halty or a head collar or anything that tightens up around the dog's chest or the dog's head. If you see a picture of a dog's face with all of the nerve endings, you will see exactly why so many dogs turn on the head collars like they do. Varley was walked on a figure of 8 and a head collar for a while. He absolutely hated it. I can put a head collar on him and he will walk to heel absolutely perfectly without a lead on it, just because he does not like it on his face, because of the compression on his nerves in his face. Now, we have to acknowledge as trainers that immediate results usually are the product of discomfort and pain. We can't look at a sudden change in a dog. For example, I put a head collar on Barley and suddenly he's walking like an angel. I can't look at that and say, oh yeah, no, that's a product because he knows what he's doing. No, that is a product of the fact that he is uncomfortable, that he does not like what he is feeling. He does not like the pressure, or he does not like how it touches him, or he does not like how it feels. So that is what that is. A dog that makes mistakes, I have found, is generally a dog that is not as fearful. So I don't mind if we're healing and Varley decides he wants to pull off a head, or he gets confused about what he's being asked to do. So if the other day I asked him to go and fetch an inhaler, he came back with a water bowl. He came back with something, at least. That's what I asked him to do. So there's no point berating him for it and going, oh no, you stupid dog, I asked you for the meds. You go, no, thank you for the bottle. Now can you please go and get my meds? Or my inhaler? And he will go off and he will do it. There's no point sitting there going, oh my god, you're useless, you brought back a bottle and I wanted meds, this, that, the other, slap, 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 slap. Because then all the dog's going to learn is that bringing something back to you is not a positive experience. Now, we have more of a party if he brings back the right thing. But we have a party if he brings anything back in the first place. Because him bringing something back is him going, actually, I really want to interact with you. You know, I really feel good about being near you. And that means that the training is working. My dog spends every living moment of his day with me. Where I am, he is. Where he is, I am. Okay, when I kick him out to go poo-poos in the dark in the bathroom, I'm like, you can go out on your own. But when you come back in, close the door and come back into the office. And he is trained to do that because he finds it fun. You go, yeah, no, go close the back door. And he will go and he will jump and he will slam the back door closed. And then he will pull the pull tab on the office door, come into the office, get back on his bed and go back to sleep. I don't have to do anything. He was not trained any of that in fear. He loved jumping up things. So rather than punishing him for jumping up, I trained him positively to jump up the door. On command. I put that under stimulus control. Now, back when I first started training, I probably would have used a check collar and popped it out of him. But that would have been almost like breaking part of his spirit. Because that dog loves to jump. He just didn't have an appropriate outlet to do so. We have to do better by our dogs. Not every single dog is going to be perfect. No dog is going to be perfect. And we're never going to be perfect trainers. But what we sit there and we do is we go, okay, I am never going to stop learning. I am never going to stop sitting down and looking at my dog and going, what makes you tick? Or why do you do what you do? None of this society, oh, he's staring because he wants to dominate you. None of this, oh, my dog is stubborn. I cannot stand when people call their dog stubborn. Your dog is not stubborn. Your dog is doing what it's doing for a reason. And you're just not high enough on that list of reasons. Make yourself high on that list of reasons. Get training, build your bond. Use toys, use balls, use food, use whatever you need to do. Build that bond with your dog. I cannot emphasize enough how much better my bond is with my dog after going positive in 7 or 8 months? Longer than that now because he's 3 in March. Oh lord. Longer than. But the fact of the matter is, positive may be slightly harder to get into, and it may be more of a challenge because you have to learn more about the dog rather than the actual training. But you see the differences. And the differences, you can't ignore them. You can't ignore them. I can go, whoa, into Varley's face, and Varley will go, do you want to play? He doesn't go, oh my god, please don't hit me. He goes, I'm going to, bite your hand. And we are going to play bitey face, and it's going to be amazing. I can chase him around the house, and he's not going, oh my god, I'm going to be hit, I'm going to be hit, I'm going to be chastised for whatever it is that I've done. He goes, oh my god, I'm going to chase you back. It is absolutely worth it. It is harder, but it is worth it. And again, with the Gundog mentality and with the training mentality, we have to take a step forward. Now, I have just completely winged this conference, and this is the first conference that I've ever done. That is the most that I wrote down. I wanted to be as frank and as honest with you as I possibly could, so I sat there and I went, do you know what? Just open your mouth and go there. So I'm hoping what I've said has made sense. And I hope what I've said that you have enjoyed. The video of Varley hitting the stick, or being pulled off the stick rather, I will put in the comments at the end of this live, once I have re-uploaded it and made it worldwide. I will be getting at least another person worker vest to work my dog in thick conditions. At least one. If not two. Maybe different colours. Different colours would be amazing. But all I can say to you guys, really, in passing, because it's a little early, but I'm going to finish off that little early because I need to go and get a drink. The dog needs to be let out, and I think there's some hot chocolate and scrambled eggs in my near future. Go to your dog and do something that they enjoy doing. Don't go over and hug your dog if your dog doesn't enjoy hugs. Go over and sit with your dog if your dog likes your company, or go over and pet your dog if your dog enjoys being pet. Do something that your dog enjoys doing with you, not necessarily what you enjoy doing with your dog. Build up that bond and work as much as you can. You may not want to roll in poo, but if your dog wants to roll in poo, go and roll in poo with them. No, please don't do that. Oh my god, I can even imagine. Varley is especially prone to horse. And deer. If he can find deer poop to roll in, he absolutely will. That is probably the only time you will hear me shouting, no, oh my god, please don't do it. Anyway. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now. I know I have jabbered a lot. This live will be saved, and it will obviously be put up with the rest of the conference. Ruby, thank you so much for making this happen. You've done amazingly well. I am going to go and have a small panic attack and make myself some scrambled eggs and some hot chocolate, but that's only after I'm sure that you guys have not got any more questions. So do we have any more questions before I finish out the live? Exactly, the Gundog group, the Gundog Club is a brilliant place to start. I personally am currently trying to get into I'm hoping to get into my Gundog Society, but I need a couple of, what do they call them? How do I deal with people that scoff at you for rewarding your dog while he's working? I ignore them. At the end of the day, I'm the one that's taking my dog home. I'm the one that's taking my dog home. I'm the one that's reaping the rewards of his training. For example, I was absolutely slandered for using a tennis ball as a reward during Gundog training. They're going, oh my god, the retrieve should be enough, and the retrieve is enough. Varley will retrieve anything. Hell, I threw a medicine packet in the bin the other day and he went and retrieved that out of the bin. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to take a ball and reward him while he's working. Nominees, that's the one. Something similar. Nominees or something very similar to that. But if they stand there and they scoff and they go, oh my god, you reward your dog while he's working. Well, yeah, I do. So what? You don't take my dog home. My dog is a gun dog and he is an assistance dog. If you head over to West Creek Labradors, you will see more of him. We are Little Kinked Tail on, I will just type that into the chat. We are Little Kinked Tail on Instagram. You can see more of his hunting there. If you want to drop me a friend notification, you're more than welcome to. I post constantly about his assistance dog work and how he's just generally stupid. But during the seasons, he does get to work as a gun dog, yeah. He's also a novice scent work dog. He's a novice show dog. He is an expert trick dog. We are currently working up to our championship levels. Varley is a jack of all trades. He is the dog that I have sat down with and gone, do you know what, I'm going to do like 400 different things with you. And that's fine. But his gun dog work pays for his food for the rest of the year. So he earns his keep, as far as I'm concerned. It is as it is. Would you recommend Gundog work with the working breeds as an outlet for their pup? Yes! Yes, I absolutely would. If you have a Labrador or a Cocker or a Springer, you don't even need to go on a shoot and start shooting pheasants. You don't have to do that. You can get some dummies. You can get some pheasant scent if you wanted to, and just go out and do some retrieves. Get them to find that dummy. You will find a lot of pups, particularly Labradors, will automatically respond to the pheasant scent. At least that's what I found with Varley. Varley was never trained on a pheasant scent before he was sent after his first bird. I was just like, yeah, can he do this? Sent him off. Off he went. Now again, I don't train gun dogs. I don't feel comfortable training gun dogs. I've only trained Varley at this point and one other dog. All I have given you is my opinion. As a pet dog trainer, that is all I have done. And I've told you about what I think needs to change. So, would I recommend a gun dog working with working breeds and outlet? Absolutely. Same as I'd state that if you've got a herding dog, try and find somewhere to teach them to herd. It'd probably save you from being bitten in the house. Probably save cars from being herded or other dogs. If your dog is showing instinctive behaviours to do with their heritage, then why not? Have I seen terriers train in a gun dog sense? No, I have not. We do have terriers on the shoot. They are very noisy. We did have one that was quite aggressive that I saw get kicked across half a field by someone because it went after their dog. Not the best way to handle that situation, but with how that terrier was going after the other dog, I probably would have given it a shove as well. The same terrier then picked a fight with Varley. Now, I haven't seen terriers train, so I can't say anything about that. My experience is with Cockers, Springers, and Labs. But I would be more than happy to find you a resource and point you in that direction. But it is now 9 o'clock. I have taken up an hour of your time. So I am going... Yeah, exactly, Helena. And Varley was actually used as a ratting dog on the farm that I worked on. Not, he's only got 3 or 4 rats at his time, but he's got the instinct for it. And yeah, Varley will always carry things around. When Varley is happy, Varley will pick up the nearest object and he will carry it. For example, I came home once and he was so happy to see me, he couldn't find anything to carry, so he took my mum's cracker out of her hand. He didn't eat it, he just walked around with it because he was so happy he had to hold something. So that is why he's got so many different toys to carry around, depending on what he wants to chew on. Spoiled. Yes, absolutely. Anyway, I do hope this has been even the slightest bit educational, or the slightest bit thought-provoking. I will get that video re-uploaded in a worldwide way, or I'll change the privacy on it so you can see it, and I will drop it if you keep an eye on this chat after the live ends. So I will see you guys soon, and Ruby, if you do another conference, you can absolutely book me in again because you know I'd love to talk again. I think I've found a new hobby. Thank you guys, it was great to see you.